name's Dawn and I'm a piano teacher, and I wanted to put together some videos to help people get started before they find themselves a teacher. So here we are. First of all, let's have a look at the piano itself. So the good news is all the notes we need are laid out in front of us. So that's the easy part. We've got some markers which you can see. You've got groups of 2 and groups of 3 notes, and these help us to find our way around, which is good. So all we really need to do is learn one group of notes, one group of 8 notes, and then in fact, as you can see from these markers, the same pattern is repeated up and down the keyboard. As we go up this way, we're getting higher. As we go down this way, we're getting lower. So the first note that you've probably all heard of is middle C, which happens to be this one here. And it is roughly, if I do this, it's roughly in the middle of the piano. Imagine you're giving someone directions to your school or to your classroom, and how would you tell people how to get there? So you might sort of turn right at this point, turn left. Well, let's have a look and see if we can think of a similar thing for our location of this note. So as I said to you, we've got these handy markers of 2 and 3 above here. So we're going to use those to help us find the notes. So middle C has got the 2 black notes just above it. That's middle C. Then we have D in between the 2 notes. We have E on the edge of the 2 notes. Then F is at the bottom of the group of 3. Then G, which is in the middle but to the left hand side. A, which is again in the middle of that group of 3 but nearer the other end. B is at the top of the group of 3, and then look, we're back at C, and we can tell because it looks exactly the same as the C below. I wanted to also say something about how we make our sound on the piano. All we need to do on the piano is, if I were to show you in here, we've got some hammers hitting strings. Have a look at your own piano at home and see what's inside. So we've just got to make that hammer hit the string. We don't need to bash it. We've got to make sure we give enough pressure, but really we want to do this in the most musical way. So it's like if we're singing, we don't want to shout when we're singing. That's not going to make a good sound. The way that we do this is you sort of imagine you've got like a little bird resting there in between your thumb and your fingers, and you don't want to crush it obviously, but you don't want it to escape. And the weird thing is, if you do that, it really nicely lines up your arm where you need to be. And if I go down to middle C here, you can hear that's sort of making, if I try other methods, well that doesn't work so well. And I know it's tricky to get those fingers moving when you want them to at first. But if we sort of make sure we've got that shape, our left hand never is quite as well behaved as the right. It gives us a good place to start with our sound. So that's a little bit about how we make the sound. Okay, very basic terms, but it'll get you started. Now what about how we write this music down? Because I know a lot of people get quite worried about learning how to read music notation. The system was developed almost 1,000 years ago now. Gradually over time, they experimented with using more lines than 5, but eventually the system became standardised and 5 lines was chosen as the norm, if you like. But we've only got 5 lines and we've got to fit all our notes on there. So we've got to really make good use of our of what we've got. So we need to use both spaces and lines to show our notes. Okay, so you can see here I've filled in a few and I'm just going to put in a couple. Don't worry about where these stalks go. That's just really, we turn them around in the middle just so that they don't bang into the line of notes above. Okay, it's just about making, and a lot of the things are quite logical actually. So if I turn everything around, okay, so these are, you've guessed it, these are notes going downwards, and we use every line and we use every space. When we're playing the piano, that makes good sense. We're heading that way and we're heading that way. This takes a little bit more thinking about because we're heading that way, but we're heading that way. So we're kind of doing two different directions, but you'll get used to it. And in fact, you really end up almost like you're tracing the notes with your hands. So we're tracing upwards, and this time we're tracing downwards. You know, so if you, instead of playing this, if you were following upwards with your pencil, that's what you're doing, isn't it? Well, enjoy finding your notes this week. Perhaps you can get those fingers working. Remember your little birds. So I want you to perhaps practice getting those fingers moving nicely. So next time we'll talk a little bit more about how we play some of the notation that we've written down. But until then, I hope you have a great time finding your way around the piano, trying to make a nice sound. Obviously we've got a slight curve on our fingers as well. I don't want to add too many things in though to get it too confusing. But have fun and really start to enjoy playing the piano.